and I'm excited. I've got 5 great tips that I think are going to take you to the next place that you want to be in your week, in your month, on your journey. And so if you think this is going to be valuable, then please hit that share button and share it with your friends, because I think it would apply to anybody in any stage of life, in any season of life, and I hope that you feel the same way, that it's beneficial. So let's jump in. Thank you for being here. I see that you're all over the place, and I'm thrilled that you're watching tonight. So, creating a stronger focus. Creating a stronger focus. Creating a stronger focus, it means finding the most narrow focus. And the most narrow focus for this season of your life. Seasons come and go. That's the most important thing for you to grab right now. This season of your life is unique from the last one. It's unique from the one that's going to be in front of you. And it's really important that you embrace the season that you're in. With so much coming at you from so many places, how do you narrow your focus to accomplish what's most dear to you, what's most important to you right now? Okay, if you want to know, keep listening and share your screen. You know, life does come to us in seasons. This past weekend, I celebrated the life of my 102-year-old friend's passing, Olita. And alongside, of course, of her this weekend was the passing of Barbara Bush, another iconic First Lady to our country. It causes pause about the purpose and meaning of life, recognizing again the brevity of life. Brief, even if you're an extended centurion. I believe that for even Barbara Bush and for my friend Olita, it went like that. It was too fast. So to me, one of the most horrifying thoughts is getting to a later season of life only to realize that I missed the previous one. Like looking back, oh my gosh, that was so great and I missed it. And so to me, that's a horrifying thought. Perpetual regret management. Who wants that? Perpetual regret management. Putting out fires, rebounding from consequences. Working as I do really intimately in the coaching and encouraging process of so many lives, I see the temptation of missing a season, the probability of this, I see that happen really often. The tendency is to believe that tomorrow or next year or in 5 years when my kids are here or in 3 years when my parents are here, it'll be a better time for this or that. It's surely one of the biggest deceptions that we face and that we have to tackle straight on. So, first thing I'm going to invite you to do tonight before we go any further, well, first of all, if you would share your screen. I believe this piece is going to be super valuable to anybody that you know. I'm going to suggest before we go any further tonight that you actually come up with a gratitude list. If you haven't done it in a while, and I recommend doing it daily, in fact, I recommend doing it before you go to bed at night. Think of, as you're going to sleep, as you're winding down and you're taking deep breaths and you're settling into your day, it's so valuable to think of the 5 things or people that you are most grateful for. And as you think through those, just think through the what and the why and the full appreciation of them. But gratitude, when you think about what you are thankful for, does a couple things. It takes you away from focusing on what's missing in your life or what you're worried about or what you don't have or how you're comparing in some way. Gratitude, our praise opens us up into more intimate space with our Creator in gratitude, when we are in gratitude. And when life is not going smoothly or it's caving in on you, instead of thinking about the cave or the hyper-focusing on what isn't going right, praise. Praise and thank and say it out loud. Gratitude blocks toxic and negative emotions. And gratitude promotes the savoring of all things positive in your life. And when you practice it consistently, you'll become more generous, you'll become more compassionate, more genuinely connected to other people. So the first thing I want you to do is to think about and write down or share on your screen, if you're transparent and you don't have any secrets, share what it is that you're grateful for right this very minute. It could be technology. It could be the opportunity to learn. It could be what you just had for dinner. It could be that you skipped dinner. Whatever it is, write down and know what it is that you're most grateful for. So let's jump in. The Design Your Life method of narrowing your focus so that you're living in this season fully loaded, all in, confident in the intensity of your investment, the intensity of your time and energy and priority and efforts. So if you don't have them yet, or if you're not working in them yet, I am going to do a quick commercial because, quite frankly, everything I do and teach stems from what I created 20 years ago in the Design Your Life Planner. I love the new edit. I posted something on my Facebook on just one of the daily pages today, and the importance of living each day. I saw a pastor tweet this last week, a pastor that I follow. He tweeted, "Let each day represent to you a completely different lifetime. Live each day as if it was a completely different lifetime." You know, what if you thought you had to live your lifetime in a day? Would you live more intentionally? Well, I believe that's what the Design Your Life process does. It's a 90-day planner, so much in it, so many free lessons about it on PamelaShaw.pink or the Design Your Life Pamela Shaw YouTube channel. Either place you can find them. They're free. They're for you to really get started and really focus in on what would happen if the next 90 days of your life were the best 90 days of your life because they were focused. Sometimes you need the right tools. People go after a date book, and the date book keeps appointments. Appointments do not change your life. Appointments do not direct your behavior. Appointments do not make you think about where you want to go. But a planner, like this planner, Design Your Day, 90-day planner, hashtag 90-day planner, it does. You can grab it on PamelaShaw.pink. The other thing that I published this year that I'm so proud of because I've gotten such tremendous feedback on, and I know some of you are people who are working through it, and you're like, yeah, I worked through 2 chapters and then I stopped. Understandable. It takes so much out of you. But you know what? Here's the wonderful part of what this workbook does for you. The answers to what should I do? Where should I go? What season is this? This will guide you, but the answers are inside of you. You're not looking for an answer from someone else. The answers are inside of you, but this will guide you. So if you have the workbook and you've done a couple chapters, schedule another hour tonight with yourself to do another one. Schedule another hour next Saturday or next Sunday to do another one. Keep working through. And then, of course, when you filled it out, this one's mine. So you can see I've got it tabbed and I've got it in color. And, you know, I'm still working on mine, even though I wrote it. But I think those 2 tools will be helpful if you don't have them. Okay, so I hope you'll share your screen. Let's jump in. Let's talk about the value of narrowing your focus. When I sat down to pen the order of my thoughts for this particular Facebook Live, I had a sweet friend out in my yard helping me with weeds. I had a guy in the yard cutting down a dead tree, so there was noise. The TV was still on in the background because I had watched Mrs. Bush's televised service. I had Pandora, but it was on mute. I had Pandora's classical music for studying on in the background. And then I had a few piles of mail and things that I was working on in front of me on the counter. I was distracted by the combination of things. So I turned the TV completely off so I couldn't see anything moving in the background, and I rearranged some things that were around me that felt distracting. One key to narrowing your focus is to become aware of all that is a distraction to you. Now, 20 years ago, when I was first writing the Design Your Life Planner, a section that I was adamant about putting in the planner that I did was called Master Task List. Master Task List. Brain dump. Like everything for your personal life and your work life. There's 2 pages in the planner for you to dump everything that you're thinking, I've got to do this and I've got to do this and I want to do that and this is a project that I want to do and this is an article that I want to write or a blog that I want to start or a book that I want to write or a career that I want to pursue or something that you need to change. Runs around in your head all the time. It's a distraction. So you've got to get all the distractions that are running through your head out of your head and on a piece of paper. I find it best when I know exactly where they are in a 90-day cycle. And I also find great value when the 90 days is up, starting all over and rewriting them all out. It helps me to reprioritize what's still important and what's not. So the master task list for your work life and your personal life, they get placed in there. And then in the space between 7 days that I will do later on tonight before the week starts tomorrow, there's a question that asks you to go back and look at those master task lists. Is there anything that I've written down that I can bring into this week? So that I don't have to worry about it all week. I know that if I don't add anything this week, by the end of next week, when I do the space between 7 days again, it's going to ask me the same question. They're still going to be in the same place. I get to go back and look at them. This frees me from the distraction of, oh God, what did I do? What about the garage, the paint? It frees me to get all that out of my head. So master task list for your personal, master task list for your business, because if you hyper focus on the things that you want to do or need to do that need doing, you will get overwhelmed fast and you will never be able to narrow your most important focus, because the things that seem urgent, clean the garage, move the car mat, clean out the closet, get this to Goodwill, the things that seem urgent but that are not important will take up your mental space. In order to narrow your focus for clarity, you've got to narrow it to what's important. What's important? What's important? Relationships, building a business in a key window of time, keeping up with your taxes. What's important? Growing personally, growing spiritually, being mindful, choosing health. What's important? All those things you have to go after. They don't come after you. Building a relationship, healthy relationship doesn't come after you. Building a healthy body doesn't come after you. You've got to go after it. Most of us don't have endless full-time staff for home and garden and errands and tasks and children and all aspects of work or career. So we have to prioritize. When you invest in making those lists, you free yourself from to start with the most important thing. Now, you may have heard me say this before, but I often apply my own decision-making process under this umbrella. It's called the 10-10-10 umbrella. When I'm making a decision and trying to prioritize, I ask myself, how will this affect me 10 years from now? How will this decision affect me 10 years from now? And in 10 years, how will I feel about this decision? In 10 months, when I make this decision, how will I feel in 10 months? 10 weeks, how will this decision affect me in 10 weeks? 10 days. How will this decision affect me in 10 days? In 10 hours, will this decision make a difference? A lot of times when you go through that process of 10 years, 10 months, 10 weeks, 10 days, 10 hours, you will be able to realize it's more important for me to do that, because 10 years, if I don't do this now, I might regret it. And so when presented with a decision and I come up with an answer, will that answer hold up over 10 years? Under also the umbrella of time is fleeting and time passes quickly. And you may think you have 10 years to build A, B, or C, when in fact, if you look back, you already realize you've invested 5 years or maybe even 10 years. So the urgency of narrowing your focus to get a bigger bang for your buck at this season is super important. So what difference will it make in 10 years, 10 weeks, 10 months? In 10 years, if it won't matter, 10 years, it won't matter if my yard is fully mulched. It won't matter in 10 years. It won't matter if it's weed free. So yesterday, I either get out and pull the weeds myself because they are growing, or I get some help with it and put my energy into preparing this. In 10 years, if I haven't invested well into the people whom I can make the biggest difference for now, I would regret that. And it wouldn't matter if my yard looked perfect every day. So the window for mentoring and coaching the people that I'm investing in would have closed in 10 years. And so that's personal to me. It isn't necessarily the same season for you. Maybe for you right now, it's a season to pull weeds. I don't know. But the point is not whether it's my season or your season. The point is that you get to prioritize to narrow your focus. So where I'm going is a general umbrella of acknowledging that we all have seasons of life, and you've got to know which season you're in. You've got to have a process for making decisions and for prioritizing. And I like the 10-10-10-1. So, but what is your season of life right now, and what is your priority? Deciding is key, and with all my heart, I believe that investing yourself in the Breakthrough Workbook is a worthwhile exercise. You've got to schedule the time. If you followed me on other trainings, you know that I urge goal setting to be limited to 3 main categories. So, grabbing discipline in one category, it's going to bleed over into another. So if you've got a huge goal in one area, just know that in those other 2 areas that you're setting, that discipline is going to bleed over into those areas. But it won't if you're all over the place, if you haven't prioritized, and if you're here and there and everywhere. So I'm going to give you 5 steps. All right, ready? Here we go. Somebody needs to be my secretary tonight. I don't have any helpers, so if you want to write this out as I say it, that would be awesome. And then for the people who come through and watch later, they can pick it up. If you haven't yet, would you share your screen with your Facebook friends? I would appreciate it, and I think they might benefit from it. So these are the 5 steps to narrowing your focus. Step 1, consider your current distractions. Ironically, Ironically, social media is one of your distractions, and so here I am distracting you. But hopefully by the time when I get off, you'll turn it off and not get distracted by it anymore. Social media is a distraction. So what is in the way of your focus? Don't say a person or a person in your home. A person's in your home. That's a time management and delegation issue. So start with non-breathing distractions. Not your children, not your spouse, not another person. What are your current distractions? Consider them and write them out. Which of those distractions are you in control of, and which have you just given over as an excuse, and you're calling them your distractions and your excuse, but they really don't hold up. So consider every single one of them. I will tell you this. I was going to pick up my phone, but it's in front of me. When I pick up my phone and I start doing this in the middle of the day, it's the same as going to the refrigerator and eating. It's the same unhealthy distraction from something proactive to do in my business or in my life. So step number 2, we're going to narrow the focus. Narrow the focus. The big topic of today is gaining greater clarity. 5 steps to gaining greater clarity and narrowing the focus. But the 5 baby steps in between it's going to also include narrow the focus. You've heard go big or go home, right? That may be true in the gym or, with your hair, but it's not in terms of focus. Going small is more powerful with your focus because it suggests you ignore all the things you could do and are doing and do only those things that only you can do to fulfill your biggest goal priority right now. More gets you muddled. Muddled waters down effectiveness. Achievers have their eye on the essentials, and they know and understand the process of accumulation. All things don't matter equally, and success will be found in doing what matters most. What in 10 years would you most regret not doing, not accomplishing, not having loud and strong in your life? Look behind you 10 years. How fast did the 10 fly? So in narrowing the focus, I want you to write down what would you regret not doing, not accomplishing, not having at this season of your life. So sometimes narrowing the focus needs to be accomplished with a little bit of healthy fear and urgency to light a fire into your tail, so to speak, so that you'll stop procrastinating. Your top 3 goals, your calendar, your to-do list, they need to line up. Your top 3 goals, your calendar, and your to-do list. They need to all 3 line up. I'm going to say it again. Your top 3 goals, your calendar, and your to-do list, they all have to line up. If what you say and what you do with the hours in your day don't have alignment, then there will be a constant worry, a gnawing, a restlessness, a question mark. What can I do? I'm not doing enough. Is it going to happen? Recently, my friend and Facebook buddy and encourager, Edie Anderson, sent me an interesting email with a link relevant to this topic. I met Edie at Jillian Michaels. Thomas and I went to see Jillian Michaels live and in person in Nashville a few years ago. And she was sitting to my left, and we became fast friends throughout the night, and we've stayed in touch. And she sent me some fabulous pins from New York. She's responsible for the word rollover in the space between 7 days with all the R words that take you in the middle to end a day and to start a new week. She's responsible for the word rollover. So, hey, Edie, and thank you for that. Well, the link that she sent me was to a woman by the name of Fran Hauser, and she sent me to her Flipboard. And this, the information is built around what to do when you say yes and when you mean to say no. How many of you have said yes when you meant to say no? Anybody? Anybody ever said yes when you meant to say no? I signed up, but I didn't mean to, kind of thing. Okay, well, this Fran's method is really simple. So to prioritize, you identify your non-negotiables by taking a piece of paper and creating 4 quadrants. Okay, so just 4 quadrants. Boom, boom. 4 squares. Top left, it needs to say me. Top right, friends and family. Bottom left, career or business. And bottom right, world. So 4 quadrants, me, friends and family, career or business, world. If you have to pare it down, who are you in those 4 quadrants and what's not negotiable? So write a few things in each quadrant, and if you hit a blank for one of those 4, let it go. The season for you to invest now is loud enough, and it will need enough of you. But pare it down to just that. Me. What's important to me? What's non-negotiable to me? As it, whether it's your health or your, whatever it is. What about your family and friends? What's non-negotiable? What about your career business? What's non-negotiable? And who you are in the world. What is non-negotiable to you? What gnaws at your heart? Step 3. Choose the one habit. I know, I say this a lot. Choose the one habit that if you developed it and you incorporated it and you gave it time to do its work, that's it, and you gave it time to do its work, the one habit that if you chose it, if you developed it, if you incorporated it and you gave it time to do its work, it would give you the biggest bang for your buck. What's the one habit? You know what it is. What's the one habit? When you see people that you think are disciplined, really what you're witnessing is one of two things. The rare of discipline is one of their top 5 strengths in Strength Finders. People think that it's one of my top. It's 24. And anything below 17 you shouldn't pay any attention to. Or the more common, if you see someone that you think is disciplined, you're looking at someone who's trained a handful of habits. They've trained a handful of habits into their lives. Because you are what you repeatedly do. Therefore, achievement is not a one-time action, but a habit that given the accumulation factor, it unfolds over time. Interrupted habits. If you don't like where you are, interrupt your pattern, interrupt your habit, because delayed time. Willpower, it's a funny thing. Willpower is a really funny thing. It works until it doesn't, right? Willpower, I'm, going to do this or I'm not going to do this. And, willpower works until it doesn't. And when it doesn't, you go to your default. We all have defaults in many areas of our lives. So willpower is great until it doesn't work. And then you go to your default. That's why deciding on habits are going to serve you well. So if my habit of preparing food for the week, roasting vegetables, juicing, deciding snacks in advance, tight and solid, if I decide them in advance, I make good choices. If, however, I do not honor the habit of getting them prepared at the beginning of the week, I go to my default. My default is grabbing, and it's grabbing quick foods. And even a healthy food grabbed too many times doesn't fit in to wellness goals, mental or physical. In other trainings, I go into framing your day. The first 2 hours and the last hour of your day, to build guardrails around the first 2 hours and the last hour of your day, framing your day so that the start and the stop, it's got structure and it's solid, and you're living your values and you're living your priorities and you're working on your habits. You build guardrails to support habit development. Again, we're not picking 10. We're just, at the most, we're picking 3, and that's a lot. So what do you want to define your achievement? Solid habits, managed and accountable, willpower, or your defaults. This is more than important for you to consider. What do you want to define your achievement, your solid habits, your managed and accountable willpower? So it's simple, ask the alcoholic who could white knuckle it for 6 months, or the sugar food addict or emotional eater who doesn't build in solid nutrition habits and accountability around weaknesses, or the spouse with wandering eyes and no accountability or counseling. Hey, we all are one decision away from destruction, and none of us is exempt. That's the truth. That's the truth. And about the time you think, I would never do that, or thank goodness that's not me. Oh, no. That is not a safe place to travel when you're looking at others. Oh, thank goodness that's not me. The Bible speaks to an arrogance that we're the most vulnerable when we think we're beyond a certain temptation. I know that I'm safest when I'm connected, transparent, and in community. So what is the next habit you're going to train into your day? Dr. John Maxwell says it best. Nothing changes until you change something that you do every single day. What habit would bring more purpose, more meaning, more significance to how you want to live? Knowing this and adding it in is what builds a successful life. From the book, The One Thing, I don't know if you've read that book or not, but I looked up a couple things that I wanted to incorporate in this from the book, The One Thing. It says, extraordinary results demand that you set a priority and act on it. Those authors say that your work life is divided in 2 distinct areas. What matters most and everything else. Your life is divided into 2 distinct areas. What matters most and everything else. There are two categories. So the dread or doubt of doing something will turn into an unspeakable giant until you tackle it. And then you'll join countless thousands who agree that wasn't all that hard, or it was easier than I thought. We historically underestimate our limits, you guys. In the gym, failure is a sign of success. In the gym, it's when you fail that you succeed. There's a poem called My Wage by J.B. Rittenhouse, and it goes like this. I bargained with life for a penny, and life would pay no more. However, I begged at evening when I counted my scanty store. For life is just an employer. He gives you what you ask. But once you've set the wages, why, you must bear the task. I worked for menial's hire, only to learn dismayed that any wage I had asked of life, life would have willingly paid. So, life is the question. How we live it is the answer. What is your narrow focus right now? Alan Lakin says that planning is bringing the future into the present so you can do something about it now. Bringing your future into the present so you can do something about it now. I've mentioned the one thing a couple of times because last week I heard a speaker talk about one of the deal breakers to success. It's an unwillingness to get to chaos. Just even say the word chaos. When you say the word chaos, you think, well, I don't want chaos. I don't want any chaos in my life. It's a deal breaker. And as soon as she said it, I remembered the part of the book of the one thing that referenced the 4 thieves of success. And actually, they say the 4 thieves of productivity. The concept of chaos stuck out at me when I read this book the first time because I could so relate to it. I recalled when I was in the thick of building my business and I got to that place where I knew it had a life of its own. I mean, it just swelled. The momentum started to swell, and then there was a movement and the momentum and the movement. But I had the instinct that I needed to stay just one step ahead of it, even if it felt chaotic, even if it felt overwhelming. And you know what? I was right. That instinct of staying just one step ahead of it and letting the chaos start to swirl. Since that first time years ago, I've encountered many people who are on the crest of that explosion, but they aren't willing to go to that place of chaos. So in the book, the 4 thieves of productivity are this. Number 1, the inability to say no. I've covered that in goal setting. I'm sure I'll cover it again. The inability to say no. When you say yes and you meant to say no. When you needed the free time, you needed the unplanned time, and you felt someone say, you know what, say no. But you said yes because someone else's approval meant more to you at that time than honoring yourself or your family. So the inability to say no. These are the 4 thieves of productivity. Number 2, fear of chaos. Fear of chaos. Now, what you're seeing in my office is you're seeing me, you're seeing beautiful flowers, you're seeing cleanliness. What you do not see is the furniture that I moved up here out of the way. I've got cards, I'm throwing them on the floor as I use them. There's chaos around me, but I'm focused in on you. If you fear the chaos, you will never be able to be effective in the productivity of your life. Number 3, thief of productivity is poor health habits. My friend Kathy Halou said this last week, anything that's an enemy to your body is an enemy to your potential. Anything that's an enemy to your body is an enemy to your potential. And then number 4, thief of productivity is an environment that doesn't support your goals. All 4 of these things you are in charge of owning. Number 1, the inability to say no. Yes or no. Number 2, fear of chaos. Number 3, poor health habits. And number 4, an environment that doesn't support your goals. So what if you're saying, oh my gosh, all 4 of those are out of kilter for me. Okay, here's the deal. Pick one and start building on that one and putting that one into your world, because you know what? Your other areas of life will bleed over into another area. You will start to see success. Once you start getting successful in one area, it will bleed over into another area. So let's look at number 1, the inability to say no. In order to protect your yes, your one thing, your biggest yes, if your one thing that you're doing is your narrowed focus and everything else is in the other pile, then you've got to have the ability to say no in order to protect that yes. You have to say no to anyone or anything that could derail you or that is not a part of that yes right now. So I have some funny career journey stories about this. You know what? You instinctively know. I see this happen all the time. A person is close to a breakthrough or entering a new pattern of focus, and sure enough, an unplanned vacation, a getaway. Let's go to Florida. Uninvited family comes in for the week. The list is long. I see people just absolutely derail themselves all day long, but because they're not focused on, does this fit into the yes right now? To assume that those interruptions don't matter is naive and foolish. You have to go to the distance for long enough and far enough with enough intensity towards the goal to get the result and build on momentum. Fear of chaos. Okay, it just makes sense. When you prioritize your focus, narrow the clarity of your goal, when you let some things go, it just makes sense. Other things are not going to get done. When you focus in on your goal and you say, I'm only going to do what is associated with this goal, other things are not going to get done. But it was Albert Einstein who said, if a cluttered desk is a sign of a cluttered mind, then what is an empty desk a sign of? I'm going to go with that. Every situation's different, but to get to a new place in your life, business odds are there's going to be some chaos in the wake. Trust me, there will be another time to reassess it and to recreate order. Defend. Go ahead, defend, justify. Argue your case for your unique situation. You get to keep it. If you argue for your limitation, you're going to get to keep it. You know, think of cooking a large holiday meal, just getting home from the grocery, all those vegetables and cans, and then you get out all your dishes, and I mean, it is chaos in the kitchen at Thanksgiving, isn't it? Just getting home from the grocery and getting out all the pans, there's chaos. And then add ingredients and a mess, and there's more chaos. At the crunch time, there are a lot of people in the kitchen and their timers and their smells, and there's more chaos. But then the turkey's done and the candles are lit and the music starts to play and dinner is served and it's Thanksgiving. And eventually somebody cleans the kitchen. The other two have just as much supportive content, healthy life, and environment, but you can fill in the blanks. Number 3 is poor health habits, and number 4 is an environment that doesn't support your goals. So, the inability to say no, the fear of chaos, healthy life, and environment that doesn't support your goals. Okay, so let's go back to the steps that I've given you so far. Step 1 to get greater clarity is number 1, consider your current distractions. Make a list of them, and then how can you get rid of them and pivot. Anything that is not contributing to the success of your goal is a distraction. Number 2, narrow the focus. What is the one thing that means the most to you now? Use the 10-year, 10-month, 10-week rule. Number 3, choose the one habit that if you developed it and incorporated it and gave it enough time, it would do its work. What habit is that would give you the biggest bang for your buck? Number 4, step 4, change your mind. Change your mind. What you're thinking is where your activity is following you. What you're thinking is what you're projecting to other people. And so if you're not getting back what you expect to get, change your mind. If you believe you're more responsible for what you do than what you think, you'd be way off course. What you do stems directly from what you think, hands down. If you think long enough, if I think long enough, let's keep it real. Who am I talking about here? If I think long enough about the deliciousness of cookie dough, and I start to consider who I could make cookies for, imagining the dough, but justifying the good deed that I would do for someone. If I think about that long enough, I'll set out butter to soften it. If, however, I think about the wellness goals I have, the look at my goal poster, the health I want to practice, stick to the habits of preparation, I'm more likely to dodge that sugar coma at my own hand. Few appreciate the real power of the mind. What I hyper-focus on, I will eventually take action on. Fear means mind is not made up. Because once your mind is made up, you become fearless. A skill you didn't have yesterday, it's not even an obstacle today when your mind is made up. Fear plays with an undecided mind. Fear, what if, what if, what if. All thinking produces at some level. Sincerely think about what you're thinking about. And in step 5 to narrowing your focus is to set deadlines. Set deadlines, little ones, impromptu ones. Not in the sense that you may be thinking from, I'm giving myself until tomorrow at noon to apologize. To my recent one of, I'm giving myself until Saturday night to unpack this luggage after having been gone for 8 days. By the way, I've been home for a week. and I hadn't unpacked. And there were some accentuating circumstances, but this is an example of enduring chaos and setting a deadline. I gave myself until last night to do it. I'd been out of town. I had 2 suitcases of clothes and a travel bag and a lot of shoes and training materials, and I like to unpack the same day that I get home. But I came home to an unexpected family situation that shifted my plans, and so I left that until I got my footing, and I did what was most important first. I created a little chaos that I was able to endure. However, I set a deadline. Saturday night, before I go to bed, this will all be in order and it will be put away. This doesn't mean that a deadline's written in stone. It just keeps us from feeling trapped or helpless or behind or not good enough. And it brings solution and a focus. So the deadlines that I'm talking about, they may be like ones that I've shared or a private one that you're giving yourself with another person or a group of people. Deadlines give us subconscious permission to move forward. In the 90-day planner, in addition to the 6 most important lists every day and the people to call and the messages to write and so on, each day has space for frame your day and to set your intent. Every single day, it asks you in the planner, what are your top 3 things for today? What are your top 3 things for today? And then it asks you to write out, what are your 3 key behaviors to accomplish those things? And then it asks you, what's your 1 word or 1 phrase that you're going to focus on throughout the day to keep you focused? So as we close today, I'm going to give you a wrap up of kind of simple assignments. The first one was and is to make a gratitude list. What are you most grateful for right now? Just let it flow. Just let it flow. Write it down all over the place. And then consider the context of this particular season of life. And then using the 5 steps to bring greater clarity for now. Step 1, consider your current distractions. Make a list of them. How can you pivot or overcorrect those distractions? What can you turn off? What can you put away? Step 2, narrow the focus. What is your one thing right now that everything else becomes a distraction? Number 3, choose the one habit. What one habit can you say, I'm going to implement it tomorrow, and these are the steps to the habit? Number 4, step 4, change your mind. Recreate affirmations if you need to. Record what you want yourself to be thinking. The Bible says to capture your thoughts. To capture your thoughts and to renew your minds. And literally you can do that. Literally you can stop and say, what am I thinking? That is not the way it's going to go. And you can rewire it, rethink it, recreate a new neural pathway, because as you think, your activity and action will flow. And then step 5, set deadlines. Set deadlines, set baby deadlines, set simple deadlines, set deadlines throughout the day so that it's not just all overwhelming and it's not all coming at you and it's not just, Okay, so I hope that helped. If you're not working with your 90-day planner and you have one, get it out and go to the space between 7 days. This is the most wonderful part of this book. It's in between every single week and it's right next to brain dump. And then it starts in with the week has ended, let's recalibrate. And I've got a great training just exclusive to just that, and how you take all those R's and reevaluate your week and roll over undone tasks and you recommit and you get started all over fresh and get your week set up this week. So I hope that you've gotten something beneficial from our time together tonight. Thank you so much for being on. I never take for granted the time that you set aside to spend time with me. So thank you for that. God bless you. Godspeed. And here's to a super amazing week with great focus and great clarity as you narrow it in.